Award-winning jumbo wings are waiting
for you. And if you're wanting to diversify your lunch menu, they have a full menu, including the revamped burger menu. They have freshly made burgers. You will love the burgers here at Wings Etc. They also have wraps, subs, quesadillas, entree salads. Their appetizer lineup includes their ultimate nachos, and you will not believe how big this plate of ultimate nachos is. Their lunch specials start at just $9.49, and you can come in, eat here at Wings. You can carry out, call ahead, or you can have it delivered through DoorDash. The DoorDash app is a new feature here at Wings. You just download the free DoorDash app, set up your account, take you a couple of minutes, and then you can have it delivered to wherever you are. It's the Red Hawks Coaches Show at Wings Etc. Good food and great times. We're going to be talking with Nate Johnson, Red Hawks senior post player. He'll join us a little bit later on. I know he just put his order in here at Wings Etc. And the Red Hawks head coach, Brad Korn, joins us. And you are a little under the weather today. We appreciate you still squeezing us in.
You know what? You gotta power through. I think everybody's kind of in that situation, whether injury, illness. I think everybody's kind of facing some sort of adversity at this point in the year. So you power through, you keep showing up, keep doing the work, and then you look back and say, oh, look what we did. So we'll kind of take that mindset and power through and see where we end up.
I had the gunk last week. My wife is an ER nurse and says they're seeing the RSV and influenza A is big right now. How many of your guys have fought through the crud here?
Oh, boy, 1, 2, 3, 4, probably 4. We've had a couple coaches before. My whole household went through it. So it's just kind of going around. It always happens this time of year, regardless of what it is. So we just constantly try to tell the guys to take care of themselves. Obviously, a lot of fluids, washing hands, all that type of stuff, especially in our sport, obviously just with the ball and sweat and practice and everything else. If you think you're going to eliminate it, you're probably cooling. You're tricking yourself there, fooling yourself a little bit. So trying to be as smart and as responsible as we can be.
Well, you had two guys that were under the weather for the game Wednesday against Purdue-Fort Wayne. Chris Harris was out. Adam Larson was out due to being sick. What is their status as of today?
I think you'll see both guys play Wednesday, provided things go well today, tomorrow. I wouldn't foresee anything crazy with that happening. We should see Aquan back as well. He was out as well against Fort Wayne. So you're talking about your starter, 6th, 7th, 8th man all out. Dylan goes down at halftime. So it just kind of was just one of those games. We're just trying to make it work, make it happen, find ways to stay in the game. I thought we started the game out very well. Obviously 9-0 to start the game. Felt great about where we were at, but then again, obviously it's a 40-minute basketball game, and unfortunately we weren't able to sustain through the whole game. And once they got going, they're an older veteran team, 2 6-year seniors, 2 5th-year seniors on that squad. So it's one of those games. It just was one of those games. And all that said, though, Eric, there's still a bunch of things that you can control no matter what. We talk about it a lot, control the controllables, and I don't think that we necessarily control the controllables in that game. Even with the roster that we had, you still can always control your effort. You can still always control turning the basketball over, execution, rebounding, all those types of things. I don't think that we did that enough to give ourselves a chance against a good team like Fort Wayne.
Well, you jumped out 9-0, and you mentioned that they're a veteran squad. In addition to their 2 6th-year and 2 5th-year starters, they got a 4th-year junior. Yeah. So, I mean, that's a lot of Division I basketball. They have 4 1,000-point scorers on their roster. I wonder how many teams in the country. There are 363, I believe, Division I teams. I wonder how many teams have 4 1,000-point scorers. One of the guys got to 1,000. Planutis, their three-point shooter, he got to 1,000 at the Show Me Center. That's pretty rare to have that kind of scoring on one roster. And one of their guys, their star, Jared Godfrey, he's closing in on 2,000 points.
Yeah, and I think when you look at their roster, too, you talk about unusual that they have that much experience, but they've also came back from year to year. So he's had this roster, Coach Kaufman's had that roster together now for two years, and so that speaks volumes at our level, to be able to have that much turnover. You think about where we could have been this year if everybody would have came back. Just because everyone comes back, people expect more out of you. So you have more of those returning guys. Obviously, we've got guys like Nate and Chris, and now if you add in other guys like that have been in your program for 2 and 3 years, and they're 6th and 5th year older, 23, 24-year-old guys. Shoot, Chris Harris, that's Nate, one of Nate's best friends. He might be 27. He's probably as old as you and I. But so when you have those kind of older guys, there's so much less that the coach has to do from the court standpoint. They can get out there and figure things out on their own on defense, or they can figure an offensive set out when the team takes something away and still be able to get quality shot. Understand not to panic when they're down 9-0 to start the game and hey, we got a long way to go, relax, we're fine, blah, 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 blah. All those things can come into play when you're older, experienced like that. And again, they've had that roster together complete for 2 years now, which in this day and age is a long time.
And they're the reigning champions of the Horizon League.
Yeah.
Basically everybody back. John Kaufman, when they were in the Summit League before they joined the Horizon, he beat Indiana twice, including once when they were number 3 in the country. He was the Summit League Coach of the Year, took him to the NCAA tournament. And then here they go, and join the Horizon League, and they win the Horizon League, and he's Coach of the Year. I mean, he can coach.
Yeah, and they were preseason picked to win their league
Number
in the
one,
preseason
yep.
this year as well. So, again, older guys returning a roster, not just returning a couple older guys, because anybody in this day and age can have an older kid on their roster. But he's had now for 2 years the same roster essentially. And so I think that's why you see on top of being a good coach, and a very competitive league. The Horizon League is a very good basketball league. And so it's just it's not always about who you play, but when you play them. And we just were not in the shape or form to be able to compete with them for 40 minutes in that type of a game. And we've got to do a better job of giving ourselves a chance to stay in a game, even with down numbers. I was going back through some old practice plans, and we were kind of in the same situation late in the year a year ago when we went to Edwardsville and won a game with 7 players. And so you can still win games. You still got to find a way. Again, it's not always the best to try to figure it out during the game. I was getting ready to draw up our first play to start the second half, and Nathan Harrison, our trainer, comes over and says Dylan's out. So you got to go to the board and erase what you were doing there with 40 seconds to go before the halftime starts, because Dylan couldn't give it a go after rolling his ankle. So it was all of those things just factored in. But we started the second half out well. We cut it to 8.
Cut it to 6.
Cut it to 6, and actually we had a chance there in a corner 3. Evan Ursher right in front of our bench had a chance to maybe even cut it to 5, I think, if he would have made that 3 at that point. So we were still hanging in there, still finding our way, but then again it just the wheels kind of fell off, and we just didn't have enough.
Of all the Division I teams, I think they're the 3rd most mature team in NCAA. They average 21 years of age on their roster. I mean, that's how much of an advantage is that?
It's huge. Just from, again, it's not only just natural maturation, physical strength, but just basketball IQ, having gone through a bunch of games. And then when you look at how you're matched up against other people, for us, for instance, you're now bringing Josh Mitchell, he's only played in 10 Division I games. Evan Ursher's only played in 10 Division I games. Tevin Gowan's only played in 10. So there's a bunch of things on our roster where guys haven't even played or have any of that experience. And so now –
And Gowan's played 21 minutes in the game.
Right. And so, that's what you're up against, and that's where the experience and having depth really comes into play. It's not necessarily at that point about the X's and the O's. It's, it's who can execute, who's the war of attrition, who's ready to or not ready to, but who has the best chance, who has the deeper roster, especially after what we had coming from Mizzou with the 2-day turnaround, highly competitive game, and then to come back and not have your full roster. It's just been kind of up and down for us emotionally. I think that's the other thing too. It's you can't always predict injuries, you can't always predict illness, and it's hard for coaches, for us to put together a practice plan, because now you're trying to piecemeal stuff to go. And, live in-game action, that's the worst time to try to get it done. And so if you don't have everybody for practice, you're still trying to stay sharp, but also try to get things in and make adjustments. But it's also hard for the players to try to bounce back every single time when, they know and they feel when certain guys are out, or, man, this guy's out now this guy's out. You look at Israel Barnes, who was out for a month, and trying to interject him and Dylan back into the lineup at the same time. Then Aquan got going, then Aquan goes down. And so it just seems to be all of that going on right now. So hopefully we're getting all this out of the way, and then we can finish the non-con strong and and really be full strength heading into league play after Christmas. Just because I feel if our roster is healthy and we're able to string together some practices, we're going to be fine. I really believe that.
So it's 3 more non-conference games. It's at Arkansas State on Wednesday. Saturday, you play at the University of Iowa. They're a little banged up, but still playing well. They did lose yesterday, but without their top player, they blew out Iowa State, who's a good team. And then you host SIU Carbondale, so it's just 3 more non-conference games before conference play gets here.
Yeah, and we talked about it at length before. It was a challenging non-conference schedule for us, and really challenging when you don't have your roster, your full roster. But again, I do believe that this is going to prepare us. You know, we open league play at Southern Indiana, who just beat Indiana State, who was 9-1 at the time. They've also beat SIU at their home floor, so they're very good at home. And then we have SIU Edwardsville at home right after that. So our next 5 games are not easy by any stretch.
And then it's UT Martin, the preseason favorite.
Yeah, so I mean there's nowhere to go.
That's a tough start to your conference season.
Yeah, so we didn't do ourselves any favors by getting injured and being sick and the schedule that we played. But again, I think all of it's going to prepare us. I really do. I feel it's going to prepare us. It's going to make us better. The guys have kept a good attitude, and that's all we can do is you just keep plugging away. You keep making the most of what you have. You don't make excuses. You show up, you do the work, and then we'll keep doing that. And I have a lot of confidence. Again, we get healthy. We'll get through this stretch. We're going to be okay. We're going to be in a good place once it's all said and done. What that looks like, I don't necessarily know. None of us really do. We obviously have a goal and a dream of what that can look like. But I do feel that if we get ourselves in the right spot, if we stay sharp mentally, we can still do some very, very special things.
So Dylan Branson did not play in 4 games. He missed a lot of practice time with that foot injury. When he went down and we saw him on the sideline with ice on his left foot, the first question I asked you after the game, is that the same foot, the same leg that he injured earlier? It is not, so that's a positive. How's he coming?
He's going to give he'll probably in some capacity play Wednesday. I don't foresee him not playing. Just the type of person and player that Dylan is, he'll give it a go. I was really shocked that he couldn't go in the second half. I was worried that it was more severe because if Dylan Branson says he can't play, then there's something really wrong.
Right.
And so I was really concerned what that was going to look like after the game, but just more of just a high ankle sprain. So just sometimes those things can linger on and be worse than some other injuries. But I don't foresee this one being anything more substantial than the time that he has already missed. And I think that we'll get him in practice today and tomorrow. And I anticipate him, Aquan, and Chris playing Wednesday. But again, how much? You know, Chris hasn't been able to do too much. Aquan just got back cleared to do live contact stuff. So it's again, you're talking about 2 practices, 1 practice, and then trying to go figure it out during live action. That's not the best time to get that done. So. But at the same time, we have to have all hands on deck. Yeah, you know, we can't go into games anymore with 6, 7 players. There's even rules a year or 2 years ago that wouldn't even allow you to do that. So we just have to get healthy, and it just unfortunately it's where we're at. But again, all of the adversity, all the things in life, they prepare you for what's down the road, and I feel that this is going to prepare us for something down the road.
And for anybody, Red Hawk fans say, "Oh, good, Harris back, Smith back, Adam Larson back." And Dylan Branson will play in some capacity. That sounds great, but what's their cardio like? They have not been out there able to, really work on their cardio and really go through practice routines.
Yeah, and that's huge. Again, just like the Fort Wayne game, we can be really good for the first 10, 12 minutes. We can be good for the first 5 minutes of a second half, but now there's all these, there's still 20, 25 minutes left out there in the game. And so to be able to have enough lung capacity, and you're talking about not just injury, but it's just the same for illness. Whatever your illness may be, chest, nose, breathing, all those types of things, and you can't really get your wind. We've all been ill before. Even going up and down stairs, sometimes you just come up and you're like, whew, I'm exhausted, let alone trying to play at a pace that college basketball requires. So that is a major thing. And, again, it's another one of those things where you're just trying to get it done during the game, and that's the worst time to try to figure out your offense, figure out your defense, execute a scouting report, and or get in shape during games. It's not that it's too late at that point, but that's just not the time that you want to be trying to do those things.
All right, we'll talk more about Fort Wayne coming up, and we'll preview the game Wednesday against the Arkansas State Red Wolves, but we want to bring Nate Johnson up here. Coach, tell us about the evolution of Nate Johnson, who was limited last year. He missed 21 games with injury, only got to play in 11 games, but he's been healthy this year.
He has, and you give him a lot of credit. I'm happy for him as a senior getting able to play this year injury-free, knock on wood with that. But he has a great attitude. He's a great teammate. He's also a kid that came here during the COVID situation, sight unseen to Cape, and he's from Florida and around the Fort Lauderdale, Miami areas, Broward County, and so he's seen the big city and all the bright lights, but I think he's really adapted and enjoys Cape and the people that are around Cape, and he has a dynamic personality. He's very, very intelligent. So I'm happy that he's been able to play consistently this year, not have any setbacks, because he deserves to have a great year, much like how Manny had a great senior year as well.
Yeah, honor roll student Nate Johnson. All right, he'll join us when we come back. Give you a chance to grab some lunch here while we talk to Nate.
That's right. I'm going to eat anything that he may not have. Well, it looks like it's
that's
pretty dry over there.
No, he inhaled that. That's gone. Yeah, Nate Johnson will join us when we come back. It's the Red Hawks Coaches Show from Wings Etc. in Cape on SEMO ESPN.
Get ready for the day.
We'll be right back here, same location, next week after the Red Hawks travel to Arkansas State on Wednesday, and they'll play at the University of Iowa against the Hawkeyes, and that will be coming up on Saturday. Hey, did you know that there are over 70 items on the Wings Etc. menu that are not wings, and that includes their brand new burger lineup, their wraps, salads, and other favorites. If you're coming for lunch, their daily lunch specials start at just $9.49. They've got all the high-definition televisions with all of the best sports programming. The Blues will host the Nashville Predators tonight at 7 o'clock. You can watch it in high def right here at Wings. Monday Night Football as well. And, of course, college hoops. You can always find it right here at Wings, etc. It's the home of the Red Hawks Coaches Show. Good food and great times. Let's welcome in Red Hawks. I don't know. Do you call yourself a center, Nate? Nate Johnson.
Yeah, center. That's fine.
All right. I know there are guys now that they don't like to be referred to as maybe a center, but hey, I play in the post. I play the 4. I play the 5. You don't mind being described as a center?
Nah, I mean, just whatever my role is. I like being a center. I don't have a problem with being a center or anything like that. That's pretty cool.
You look at post players now, and guys so oftentimes are not true back to the basket guys.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm going to back you down, go to the jump hook, you know. But that's who you are. You're kind of a throwback back to the basket guy. Tell us about that.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like how I feel comfortable scoring at the moment. You know what I'm saying? Like that's just like who I feel like I am. Just go out there, do what I got to do, work on my hook, work on touch around the rim, and just like kind of impact the game that way.
Okay,
like, we already got a bunch of people that could. Like, we got Adam Larson and people like that that's stretching the floor out, but I'm going to just go down there and score.
So you're 6'9", and Larson is 6'9".
Yeah.
2 totally different games.
Completely different.
And what's it like to play with Adam? And I know he probably sees you and says, man, you know, I'm hoping that I can fill my frame out a little bit here. I know he's trying.
Yeah, definitely trying. Adam does a good job of, like, you know, like, eating the right foods that he has to in order to, like, you know, maintain and, like, gain weight because he knows that'll be, like, a big stepping stone, like, in his game. But, I mean, Adam's one of my, like, he's, like, one of my freshmen, you know, so, like, that's, like, one of my best friends. He's a cool kid. He just comes in, he works hard every time. He can shoot the ball, shoot the daylight out the ball. So, this is pretty cool, like, always seeing that dynamic. Like, if you look at him in the gym shoot around with no lights on, like, just don't act like you're not paying attention to him. You'll see him make, like, 12 in a row. Just knock him down. So it's pretty cool.
You know, he's the all-time shot block leader in the history of his high school in Fenimore, Wisconsin.
Yeah.
Does he have the potential to be a rim protector at times? I know he plays on the perimeter on offense, but does he have the ability at the Division I level to be a shot blocker?
Yeah, 100%. I think he has a couple blocks on the season already, but Adams, he's so lanky and he's athletic. Like, he's a natural-born athlete. So, I mean, if you put the ball in front of his face by that rim, like, he will block it. Like, he's athletic. He could jump. He's pretty quick, and his arms are insanely long. He has a long wingspan. So, he definitely could block the ball, especially at the Division I level. I just feel like people try to go through his chest a lot more instead of, like, going over him since he's so long and athletic.
So how many times when you go down into the post on an offensive possession are you calling – for the ball? Or do you call for the ball only when you feel like, hey, I think I've got an advantage. I think I've got my defender backed up to where I can do something down here?
Well, I feel like a lot of times, like, I'll call for the ball if he's on my back, like if he's behind me, whether if it's a mismatch or it's not a mismatch. But I'm not only looking to just score the basketball, which I probably have to do a better job of doing. But a lot of times it's like easier to get the ball from one side of the court to the other side of the court, like if you like enter through a post entry, because like I'm a decent passer, so like if I see somebody open on the skip, then I'm gonna hit the skip all the time. Yeah.
So Broward County, Florida.
Yes,
now,
sir.
just exactly where is that? I mean, I was stationed in the Navy for 4 years in Key West, Monroe County, down Interstate 1. So I'm familiar with Broward and Dade County, but where exactly is your hometown?
Well, I live in Coral Springs in Broward County, so
Okay.
I mean, like, you know, you got Key West is obviously like the southernmost portion of like the state, like the little keys on the bottom. Then there's Miami, and then right above Miami is Broward County, and then right above Broward County is Palm Beach County. So I live like in the middle of Palm Beach and Miami-Dade County. So Broward County right there in the middle.
What was it like in terms of? I know what the weather is like in South Florida. I was there for 4 years, and then all of a sudden you come to Cape Girardeau, Missouri.
Yeah.
Little different.
Yeah, very different. But I kind of feel like I adapted relatively decent because after I left my first JUCO in Florida, I moved to Oklahoma and played basketball at a JUCO in Oklahoma. So
Seminole State.
Seminole State, yeah. So, I mean, like the weather, it's Midwest weather from Seminole to, you know, Missouri. So, I mean, it wasn't too hard to adapt to. The snow is different. Like, it gets pretty cold faster. Like, got to actually, like, buy boots, and I actually have, like, a coat now for the first couple of times ever. But I feel like I adapted pretty cool because, like, we always been pretty good with the team. Like, you know, and the coaches make it a family environment. So, like, I always felt, like, welcomed. So it wasn't really too hard to, like, adapt to anything for real.
Now Tampa's a few hours away from Broward County. I mean,
Yeah.
you gotta go across the Everglades area to get over to Tampa. How cool was it for you to head back to Tampa to open the season, and how many family and friends did you have at the ball game?
It was super cool because it was, you know, that was my first year, my last first game, you could say, like my senior year. And then my freshman year, when I was at JUCO, I went to St. Pete College in Florida, which is about 35 minutes away from University of South Florida. So it was pretty cool because that was like when my first game was ever in college, and that was when my last first game was ever in college. So I feel like that was pretty interesting. And it was pretty cool just seeing like my mom and my dad came to the game, you know, my sister, my brother, all my nieces, my 4 best friends all came to the game. So it was pretty cool. And then we got to walk away with the dub, so it made it all the more sweeter.
And it was a money game, so you guys
Yeah.
get the check,
Yeah.
hop back to the hotel, and jump out to the airport the next day.
Exactly. But I mean, I don't think too much like the players especially, but the coaches either. Like every single game that we go into, we think we're gonna win, whatever kind of game it is. Like we're not looking to be nervous because of who the opponent is. Like we know who we are and we know what we could do. So that's like what we go into every game thinking, regardless.
Nate Johnson is our guest here on the Red Hawks Coaches Show. SEMO plays in Jonesboro, Arkansas, against Arkansas State on Wednesday night. So growing up in Florida, I know you mentioned Tampa. I've done some deep sea fishing over in that area. Did you do any fishing growing up in Florida?
I fished a couple times. I caught a fish my first time ever going fishing, so it was pretty cool. But after that, it was probably just beginner's luck because it's been kind of dry ever since.
So in other words, you think fishing's kind of boring?
It's cool, but it's probably not too much of my thing. Like, but it's not that bad though.
I know kids have a short attention span. I took my little girls when they were little. They're not little anymore, but took them fishing. And I'm telling you, if you don't get a bite within 5 minutes, they lose interest. They're playing with the worms. I mean, it's one of those sports that you got to have some patience if you want to fish.
Exactly, and it's just I don't know. It makes me kind of anxious.
I understand. So, growing up in Florida, were you a Miami Hurricanes fan growing up? Were you a Miami Dolphins fan growing up? Were you a Miami Heat fan growing up?
Yeah, huge Heat fan. I feel like when I moved to South Florida, when I moved there from Jamaica, me and my dad, like we'd watch a bunch of like the Heat games when I was younger. And then my dad used to play college basketball. He played JUCO at Miami-Dade College. So when we first got up here, we would watch a lot of the games. And then I remember watching like the 05-06 season, seeing Dwayne Wade. And I just wanted to, like, I told him I wanted to play
Now, 05,
basketball.
was that the year they won with Shaq?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So they win the NBA championship. How about these whiteouts that they do there? That's amazing. You just look, you can't find anybody that doesn't have a white shirt on.
Because they put like all the white shirts on all the seats, so then everybody has the same matching shirt. So it's pretty cool.
So they give them the shirts then.
Yeah.
Everybody's not coming with a white shirt.
I mean, a lot of people do, but like they definitely hand them out as well. There's a bunch of shirts throughout the whole arena that you get for free. Like at every Heat game, I think you get a souvenir shirt.
So was it only basketball growing up? Did you play any other sports?
No, I only played basketball growing up.
Were you always the biggest dude?
No, not at
No,
all.
really?
No. Yeah, I mean, I didn't like a lot of people like especially basketball players like kind of get like taller around like middle schoolish. So I was like a late bloomer. Like I didn't hit 6 feet until I was a freshman in high school, which I mean is like way taller than the average individual. But like in comparisons to basketball players, like I was never the biggest player on the team until like I got to college, almost like my high school, like my senior season. I was the tallest player on my team.
Okay, so as a freshman, you're 6 feet.
Yeah.
When did you hit 6'9"?
Man, like freshman year, I was like 6 foot. I just steadily would grow like 2-3 inches every year. Like that's what happened. Like so, I was like 6 foot. Then I went to 6'3". By my junior year, I was like 6'6", 6'6", 6'7". Then my senior year, I hit like 6'8". Then I grew a little bit from my freshman year going into my sophomore year of college.
So as a freshman at 6 feet, did they always stick you down on the block, or did you ever work on a wing? Did you ever play any point guard? Did you ever play any guard or anything?
Nah, not any point guard, but like I wouldn't be like the anchor 5 or anything like that. Like I wouldn't be too much back to the basket because I mean I couldn't really post anybody up like that, which I mean probably was why I wasn't really great at basketball. It was back when I used to try to shoot and stuff like that. So.
Okay, so how far out, if you're going to step out and take a jumper, where's your range? What's the furthest out you're probably going to take a jumper?
Probably just like elbow jump shot, probably like 15 feet. That's it.
All right, if you take a 17-foot jump shot, is Coach Korn sending somebody to the scores table to check in for Nate Johnson?
If it goes in, I don't think so. But if I miss it, it's definitely not the right shot. So.
What's it like banging with Josh Early in practice? Boy, he's really giving you guys a 1-2 punch down there. He's really played well, especially against Missouri.
Yeah, Josh Early's he's crazy good. Like me and him are like super close. He's like one of my best friends. Like he's really good though. Like so every day we're in practice and we get to go at each other. It's like he's scoring on me, I'm scoring at him. Like he blocks my shot, I block his shot. It's like we're just going at it. But Josh he's really good. He's super athletic. He could jump. He's pretty quick for his size. So like every day in practice, we just got to try to get each other better. Like iron sharpens iron. So we just got to keep on getting at it.
And I think it's interesting. He played 3 years at Tulsa and just couldn't get playing time. I mean, he would play in some games, but it would be like garbage minutes. I mean, he didn't get steady playing time down there for Frank Haith. He's got to be loving the fact now that he is in a rotation and he's seeing solid Division I minutes.
Of course, I mean, one man's trash is another man's treasure. So I mean, the fact that they looked over him a lot and that he wasn't getting his opportunity, he's been using it, as drive and as motivation to keep on getting better here every single day. So now he's at a place where he could actually showcase his talents and show us what he could do, and he's been showing everybody what he could do. So.
Boy, he's really added to this basketball team. Now, last year we mentioned that you only played in 11 games. You missed 21 because of injury.
Yeah.
Have you really ever been injured? How frustrating was it that you just could not go last year?
It was extremely frustrating. Like, it was just weird. I've never actually missed a game due to injury except for like when I got to the Division I level. But last year was the first time I've ever had a season-ending injury ever. So I mean, just gotta roll with the punches and just live life. But it was pretty hard on me. But I mean, I knew I had another year coming in since I had the COVID year, and like you just gotta do what you gotta do. So I mean, just stayed in treatment, just rehabbed every single day, and then we got like our trainer Nate Harrison, and then we got Coach Strom as a strength and conditioning coach. So I mean, they had their own like plan, their own like little like tactics that they had, like in order for me to get to the position where I'm at now, like to be in shape and to be injury free for the most part, knock on wood. So they had what they wanted me to do, and then I just followed through with it, stay in the training room every day, and then I didn't go home for too long during the summer, so I stayed in Cape so I could work out with Coach Strom.
So how crazy is it now because of COVID and guys able to transfer now that you see all of these sixth-year seniors? Chris Harris is a sixth-year senior, but you see a lot of them. I mean, the guy you were matched up with on Wednesday, Petty, who transferred from Vermont, he's a sixth-year guy.
Yeah, I mean, it's my 5th year technically, so I mean, it's not too like crazy from
but can
my
you imagine
perspective.
getting a sixth year?
Yeah, it's nuts to like think about, like to try to like conceptualize, just because it's like, man, like that's a lot of time playing basketball in college, but it's like when you're in the moment, it's like it just almost feels natural because it's just like, oh well, everybody had this COVID year, people were trying to say like it almost didn't count, and then for people like me, like it basically just acted as like my redshirt year, since like I didn't get like the medical redshirt last year, so like it's basically like an act of that, so it's crazy, but I mean it's not like it's still just basketball, so like everybody just wants to play basketball still,
So you're an honor roll student at SEMO, and you're a psychology major. Tell us when did you start taking an interest in psychology?
Well, I actually just got my psychology degree.
So you're done with your bachelor's. How about that?
Yeah, it's pretty interesting. But I got into psychology about like my junior year of high school. I had a teacher like Miss Shazama at my public school, and then like when I started looking at a lot of like college plans, college maps, and stuff like that, like degree maps, I just decided that psychology would probably just be like a better way for me in order to get through college, and it's just something like that's interesting to me. Like I just like the brain, just like think about how people think, mentalities of people, mentalities of everything, because there's psychology behind everything.
Does psychology help you in basketball?
I mean, like it does, but like when you're playing basketball, it's more so like just like like your basketball IQ and stuff like that. More so like your psychological, like like I'm not out there like doing Kobe Bryant mind games or nothing like that against other players, but I mean it's definitely like beneficial. Like you understand had a bad game today, or like if I had like a bad half or something like that, like that everybody has. It's like you get to like tell yourself like, okay, it happens to everybody. Like when I get hard on myself or anything like that, it's like, okay, well it happens to everybody. So it's like it's just like another like thinking point almost, but it helps a little bit.
What's it like playing with Philip Russell?
It's pretty cool. Like Phil's like another one of the kids, like like love him. Super cool, super smart, heady. He understands the game like a lot, like probably a lot more than people give him credit for. People just think like he's scoring a lot more times, but like he really understands like what he's doing on the court. And like him being like like our PG1, it's pretty fun. Like and then Phil's pretty funny. Like he make like there hasn't been a day since I've met Phil that he hasn't made me laugh. And so it's pretty cool. Like always having him around.
So, who are the funniest guys on the team?
Funniest guys on the team. Phil has to be one. Kobe, of course. Chris, Dylan. I mean, I feel like we just have like a funny team. Like I feel like everybody just has like similar sense of humor, and we just like if we're in the locker room or if we're hanging out outside getting something to eat, like it's just constant jokes. Like it's just funny all the time.
Who's the biggest prankster on the team? You gotta have a prankster.
Yeah, but I don't know. It's not. We don't. Hasn't been too many pranks, honestly.
Okay.
But probably Chris, honestly. If we're gonna be serious, like me and Chris probably prank each other a little bit more than anybody else would, like on the team, just because we've been here with each other like the longest. Me, Chris, and Dylan. So like, Chris would, Chris will like find my spare key or something like that and go in my apartment and like mess up my room or something like petty like that. So then like I'll try to like like just do like something else back, like put like little stuff on his little windshield and stuff like that. But it's probably Chris.
All right. When you talk about practice time, everybody hears, say somebody has missed some time. They missed time. They've either injured or like you've had a couple of guys under the weather. Mm-hmm. Explain to the average fan, because we talk about, well, he's missed so many practices. How big of a deal is it when you miss practice, when you cannot get your cardio in, and when you cannot get your reps in with the rest of the team? Yeah. How hamstring that makes you?
Well, I mean, you got to think about it like, those sayings like always practice makes perfect, but practice makes better regardless. So it's like if you go down and then there's like there's games coming up, like let's say like somebody like Dylan or Chris like that hasn't been able to practice like the past couple of days because they either haven't been feeling good or they got hurt. It's like you don't get that same feel for the game again because it's like you've just been out for so long, and then it's like your cardio goes down because I mean you can't really replicate like the closest thing to a game rep or is practice because like there's nothing like game shape but the games. You could practice 30 games and then 30 practices and then before your first game, like the first media, you always feel winded, like no matter what. So like those practices are the closest things you could get to like actually like reenacting that game like environment. So I mean like without that it just kind of feels like it almost feels like you're like lost a little bit.
So with being injured last year, obviously you couldn't practice, you couldn't get your cardio going. Mm-hmm. Would you say you are as in good a shape, physical shape, as you've ever been?
Yeah, definitely. Just because like the addition like having Coach Strong, like he's just a huge part of our program. Like like the summertime we were doing like a lot of conditioning. Like we're running the football fields or we're waking up doing like 7 a.m. like Marine Corps workouts and stuff like that. And I feel like just doing that, and then like the additions of having like such good practices, like we have like high energy, like high intense practices so much, so it's like you almost don't have a choice like but to pick it up and like but to be in shape. So I definitely feel like this is the best shape I've ever been in personally.
How about Kobe Clark? I mean, you're talking about a guy who is 6'6". It doesn't seem like he ever gets tired. He is third in the league in minutes played. He hardly ever comes out of basketball games.
Yeah, Kobe's huge. Like, you know, he just has like a knack for rebounding. Kobe's like a huge player. You know, he used to go to Georgetown. He's just super smart as well. Like, always wants to he wants to do whatever he could do to affect the team's like ability to win. Like, no matter what it is. So like, you're gonna put Kobe on the best player. He's gonna be on the best player. If you tell Kobe you got to shoot the ball, he's gonna shoot the ball. If you got to rebound the ball, he's gonna rebound the ball. He's gonna do everything that he could do. And he's just like, he has like crazy leadership abilities. Like, whenever Kobe tells you to pick it up, you feel like, yeah, like I probably got to pick it up, because like he's not telling you nothing that, like, you know, it's like when a parent tells you something that you don't want to hear, but you know you got to do it. It's like that with Kobe. Like, he's just gonna hold everybody accountable. And he's just super high energy, high intense kind of guy.
So Kobe Clark is second in the league in rebounding. When you are in practice with him and he's rebounding like crazy, does that motivate you to be a better rebounder?
Yeah, I mean, he just makes you just want to be a better player in general. Like, just because he just holds you to such a high standard. Like, he just holds everybody on the team to a high standard. Like, he'll walk in and be like, hey, man, you got to pick it up. And, like, he just tells you the truth, like, no matter what. So, like, when he's rebounding like that and he just has, like, such a knack for it, it looks like it's like he just sniffs it out almost. Like, it's like he has a rebound magnet in his hands or something like that.
All right, you guys are getting ready to head to Arkansas State, and I'm trying to think. Have you played Arkansas State before?
I played them last year, but like a little bit.
Okay.
That was when I was just getting trying to get.
I didn't know if you played in that game or not.
Barely.
Okay.
Like, it was like little minute restriction type stuff.
All right. Well, we're going. It's interesting. The Convocation Center opened the same month as the Show Me Center in 1987.
That's pretty cool.
Two buildings that opened the same month in 87. It's a little bigger than the Show Me Center. I think the Show Me Center seats 7. The Convocation Center seats 10. So that'll be in Jonesboro on Wednesday. What's the mood of the team now? I mean, I know you're trying to get healthy, man. It stinks not having your entire roster out there.
Yeah, I mean, it does, but I think like a good thing about this team is like no matter what, like our morale doesn't too damper. Like we kind of like just stay even keel. So I mean, no matter what it is, no matter who we're going to go into the game with, like, you know, of course, like, you want everybody to play, you want everybody to be healthy, but, like, no matter what, we're not going to think that, like, we're not going to make an excuse for ourselves, like, no matter what. So, I mean, like, the morale of the team seems, like, still pretty high. We still feel comfortable. We still feel confident. We just got to, like, actually go out there and prove it and win a game.
You know, we saw Manny Patterson in the last month and a half of last season. He could see the finish line on his basketball career. Yep. Here you are as a senior. Do you feel a little more sense of urgency, kind of like Manny did last year?
Yeah, definitely. But, you know, like, just try not to put too much pressure on yourself, you know, because, like, that's, like, you put too much pressure on yourself, you know, then you go out there and you start thinking about things that you have to do and thinking about, like, what you got to do to impact the game in order to, you know, like, go to the next level after this. But
is that the psychology working for you?
Yeah, a little bit. So it's just, like, you know, just try to go out there and just play hard and just, you know, like, just do whatever you can do to affect the team's winning. Try to be a good teammate all the time, you know, try to, like, you know, hold the morale high, try to keep our freshmen, you know, engaged into the season, because they never been through a season like this before. Like, no matter what, like, you know, high school is not the same, AAU is not the same, so whenever they, you know, it starts getting a little rough for them, especially like right now, you know, we haven't been winning games as much as we were in the beginning. You know, things are getting a little hard, so you just try to keep them motivated, try to keep everybody motivated, but I think we'll be fine.
All right, the guy have you guys done your scout so far for Arkansas State?
Yeah, a little bit, and we're going to do some more, obviously, you know, this Monday and then getting into tomorrow before the game. So, of course, we're going to, you know, key back into it a little bit more.
Well, the guy that you're going to match up with a lot on Wednesday night, Omar El Sheikh, 7th in the Sun Belt Conference in rebounding. He's their number 1 rebounder, good offensive rebounder as well. 6'8", 218 pounds. So you got him by about 30 pounds.
Yeah. I mean, just got to go out there and just try to match up good and just play hard, play aggressive, you know, box out and try to get rebounds. Or, Kobe's going to fly in and get some rebounds, so just got to try to match his energy.
All right, going to be fun in Jonesboro on Wednesday night. Always great to catch up with you, Nate. Thanks so much for squeezing us in. We appreciate it.
Of course. Thank you.
All right. That is Nate Johnson. Appreciate his time. He's got to run. They've got practice coming up. And Coach Brad Korn is going to join us for one more segment. When we come back, we'll get you up to speed on the Red Hawks' opponent, the Arkansas State Red Wolves. And that'll be a 7 o'clock tip-off in Jonesboro on Wednesday night. More with Coach Brad Korn from the Red Hawks Coaches Show at Wings, etc. after this on SEMO ESPN. In Cape Girardeau, thanks to Nate Johnson. Good to catch up with him. And he and the Red Hawks will play in Jonesboro, Arkansas at the Convocation Center. They've got it's named after a bank now, I believe, but used to be the Convocation Center in Jonesboro. Coming up on Wednesday night, Coach Brad Korn rejoins us. That's a weird little trivia tidbit that the Convocation Center and the Show Me Center opened the same month in 1907. Exactly the same age on both of those buildings.
Yeah, and not that far apart, distance-wise too. So it's I did not know that.
Yeah, it's really it's a nice place. I don't think they'll have 10,000. They went out to Air Force on Friday night. I listened to some of that game. I couldn't get the Mountain West, and then I figured out how to get it on my computer. So I watched a little bit of it. They were up early, and then they lost 80-55. So Air Force came back and put it on them. But this is a team that has a really solid point guard. He is their number one guy, Caleb Fields. It'll be his 95th career game when you play them. This is a guy that a very veteran player. He comes in, I think, 7th all-time in their school history in assists. He can score a little bit. He's averaging 13 points a game. He's their leading scorer. He's their leading assist guy.
Yeah, it's going to – anytime you go on the road, it's always a challenge, especially if you've got guys down. I hate to beat a dead horse, but when you have a depleted roster. So all hands on deck. It doesn't matter who we're playing. It's about who's on our bus and who's going down there, being in the right mental space, the right physical space. So I think our guys will be ready to compete. Competition really hasn't been a problem for us other than maybe one game. So I don't worry about that. We're going to have to defend at a higher level than we have been. Our defense was really, really good the first 8 games of the season, and we've kind of tapered off the last few here. So we've got to get that back reeled in, which I think we can. We've done a good job of rebounding the ball. You talked about Kobe in the last segment there with Nate. So we've done a nice job of rebounding the ball. We were good defensively early. I felt our defense was ahead of our offense. I thought our offense caught up a little bit. And then now we're dealing back with some injuries and things like that. So it never changes, though. That's college basketball. That's the length of the season. So I think we'll get a lot of those things cleaned up and figured out. But we're going to have to go and have the right mindset for Ark State. You know, they got us a year ago. They were hit by the portal pretty hard. Their roster, they lost a ton. I've seen a couple. We've actually had a couple common opponents. They went out to UC Davis and played them before we played UC Davis in Milwaukee. They beat UT Martin. So it's college basketball. You know, you never know what you're going to get. And like I said earlier, it's not always about who you play, but when you play them. And obviously, they just got stung pretty good. We got stung pretty good in our last game. So it's going to be one of those games. Pretty good regional game for us and for them. And so we owe ourselves one. We owe them one from a year ago, letting one slip away. So we'll see if we can't go down there and play one of our better games this season to this point.
They've got a couple of 6'8" guys, Coach, but they're totally different players. Omar El Sheikh, who plays down in the post there, he can score, and he's a rebounder. Played 2 years at Fairfield, and then, went to a non-Division I, and then here he is at Arkansas State. So he's kind of a banger down in the post. They've got another 6'8" guy who's a fifth-year senior named Marquise Davis, and I had to really triple-check this. He is 6'8". He shoots the three. He's 7th in three-point percentage. But he's played, and he's got plenty of two-point makes as well. Yeah. Okay, he's made 41 field goals this year, and 44 made threes. He has not shot a free throw in 237 minutes. He's 6'8". He's not just strictly a three-point shooter, but in 237 minutes, no free throw attempts. That's almost impossible to do.
Yeah, it's really unique. And again, I think that they play a little bit more of a style. He has shot 44 threes. It's more of a kind of an old school. The college game has gone a little bit more to the high ball screen, 4 out, 5 out type of a thing. He's a little bit more of a throwback kind of a guy. So to be able to go both though, inside and outside, and not have a free throw is really strange. The young man that we played against, Fort Wayne, number 0. I say his name wrong all the time, Platus or whatever his name was. He shot he shoots 8 threes a game. And so he's all the way on the outside, but he still finds a way to get to the foul line because his three-point shot can set up everything else. You would think a guy that can do both and mix it up both ways would find a way to get to the line, especially at this point in the season. We're not 2 games in or even 3 games in. It's unique.
And when Caleb Fields, their starting point guard, is out, they've got a freshman point guard, true freshman named Terrence Ford. So you would think, okay, he's feeling his way through Division I basketball. He leads the Sun Belt in assist-to-turnover ratio as a freshman point guard. 29 assists to 6 turnovers. A young freshman that really handles the ball well.
Yeah, that's also unheard of. If you think of a true freshman being able to come in and play that way, be that solid for them, especially with their roster. There's a lot of new guys. And so now you would think that a guy's out there as a freshman trying to get this guy involved or maybe not know what's going on or being able to execute a game plan offensively for them. So that's really impressive that he's able to come in and do that. Because that's all coaches are looking for, is to get good shots, not turn the basketball over, especially from that position. So a lot of credit to him for being able to do that, because those are impressive numbers for anybody, let alone a true freshman with a new roster. And they've played a challenging schedule as well.
They've got a guy named Michael Farrington, Coach, 6'3" shooter. And when you put a scouting report together for a guy like Farrington, 22 of his 25 field goals are threes. That's 88%. And in his career, he's made 95 three-pointers or 95 field goals, 95 threes out of 117 attempted. That is 81% of his career collegiate makes are threes. That's a guy who's in there for one reason and one reason only, to hang out on the arc. How do you adjust your scouting report for a guy that is strictly there to shoot the three?
Yeah, what we do is, obviously that's in the paper part of our scouting report. So we'll do a video part of our scouting report. We'll do a paper part of our scouting report, and then obviously we do the basketball court walkthrough part of the scouting report. So we're hitting it on three different levels, because everybody learns differently or absorbs the information differently. So a lot of times what we do too before the game is say, hey, tell me something about player X. And then our guys will know right away. They'll be able to say, shooter, 22 of 28 shots are from 3. They'll be able to repeat that information to you. And then when we go to the court, it's like, okay, hey, if player X is in the corner on here, what can you not do? And then, so now we hear it back. Well, we can't loosen off of him too much because he shoots 22 of 28 of his shots this season are from three. And so we're constantly getting that back and forth communication to where they know exactly who is out there, exactly what's going on. And that's why you see sometimes coaches, especially assistants, because they put in so much time with the scouting report. When you break down or you help off of them out of the corner and give up an open three, you can see the reaction from the coaches because they know exactly what happened. Or if we made the wrong defensive assignment, you just know that that ball's going in because you didn't do what you're supposed to do. So I think a lot of times you see it on the sidelines, maybe even before the ball even goes in, because the coaches know exactly what's going on, and we've gone over it so many times that breakdown shouldn't happen, even though they do from time to time. But our staff does a great job of putting together game plans and making sure that the information is communicated to our guys.
So for a guy like Farrington, it is you must make him bounce the ball. I mean, is that one of the key things on a guy like that?
Yeah, it'll absolutely be shooter. 22 of 28 shots are from three. Absolutely no free looks. You got to know exactly. Make him drive the basketball. That's exactly what it'll be.
All right, the keys, and I know one of the keys would be, hey, if we were healthy going to Arkansas State, you're going to do what you can do and, play who you can play. I mean, maybe influenza A is running through the Red Bulls. We'll find out on Wednesday. But what's the game plan? What are the keys to going on the road and picking up a big win, climbing over 500 here before you head to Iowa?
Yeah, obviously, it's mentioned in the first segment there. It's control the controllables. Take care of the basketball. It doesn't matter if you're full strength. Doesn't matter if you're undefeated. Doesn't matter if you haven't won a game. You have to take care of the basketball on the road if you want to win. You've got to rebound, and defense travels. Our defense, again, it has slipped a little bit. Maybe that's in and out, injury, whatever excuse you want to make, but it has slipped compared to where we were at the beginning of the season. So I think we can get that back. I think we'll be fine in that regard. And defense travels. Offense, I think it will come. We've got to get more. Nate touched on it, but we have to get more side-to-side offense instead of just one guy having the basketball. So I think we'll simplifying some things offensively maybe that can help us. Defense has got to travel. Rebounding has been there, particularly for us for the most part. Defending the three has been there. And really at the end of the day, transition defense. Our transition defense has got to be where it was at the beginning of the season. And I think those types of things are things you're always working on, no matter if you're doing a great job defensively. Your transition defense, your rebounding, and your ball screen defense, those three things you're always working on. Those things never change throughout a practice or a season, depending upon what the record is, what the roster is. You're always harping on those things because that's where the bulk of the game is anyway. If you can dominate the simple part of the game, you're going to be okay, because some guys there's too many good players, too many good coaches. They're going to get you on some things. But are you dominating the simple part of the things that you can control? And we can always control getting back on defense. We always can control our communication on ball screen defense. And we can always control our effort on defensive rebounding. So, again, if we can take care of those things and really be at a high level in those areas, we'll give ourselves a chance.
Is this a team where you think the combination of Nate Johnson and Josh Early can do some things in the paint against Arkansas State?
Yeah, absolutely. And, again, not just Arkansas State. I think if we have Josh Early up in Milwaukee, we walk out of there with a better record, just because Josh can, although they obviously play the same position, they're different. They score in different ways.
Sure.
Nate can help us a little bit more on the perimeter. He's a much better passer, maybe a distributor, if you will. He makes really nice passes across court. He even said it in his segment with you. He makes nice passes to the other side of the court out of the post. Josh Early's a little bit more of that true low block scorer for us, and he has shown that. Josh is a little bit better rebounder around the rim when he's hooked up and engaged. And Nate brings more of the knowledge of the game, too, and understanding the scouting report and right shoulder, left shoulder, other players on the team. So, and he's been in our system, obviously. Nate has. So he understands verbiage and everything that we're trying to say and communicate. So they're different players, but you need both. You need all of them. We need Mason Handback, who hasn't played a ton this year, but he keeps on working, and he's going to keep getting a chance to have an opportunity. So we need everybody. We need all hands on deck. But those guys are a nice complement to one another down there on the block.
On Saturday night, Philip Russell was the leading scorer in the OVC, and it looked like he would be the leading scorer going into the game against Arkansas State, because UT Martin's Parker Stewart had 9 points at the end of regulation, but they went overtime. And he ends up getting 9 points in overtime. So he scored one more point, Parker Stewart of UT Martin, than Philip Russell. He's right, the second leading scorer. You know, for a little while there, he was the leading scorer in the league. Leads the league in assists, leads the league in free throw percentage. He's having a pretty good year, Coach.
Yeah, he is, and he'd even tell you himself he wasn't pleased with the way he was shooting it early in the season. You know, there's a couple games where he wasn't shooting the ball particularly well. I thought the Mizzou game was the best game he's ever played. Just the way that he played, the pace in which he played, the way he got others involved. He even missed some shots. You know, he's one of those guys that when he misses, it's like, what happened? When he makes the right play and the right shot, you know what I mean? He's also a guy that after he's made a couple, for instance, the Fort Wayne game, he made a couple in the low block area, the mid post area, and then he came down and took a dribble up three that didn't go in. But again, if he's one of those field players, and I give him the freedom to maybe take some of those shots, and you scratch your head and say, why did he take that shot? But I have a lot of trust in him because he puts a lot of work into his game, and I know he can make those types of shots, especially if he's made a few before that. You know, Phil can get going. He can heat up in a hurry, and so I know that's all very important to him, and he works tirelessly on his game. He's an ultra competitor, you know, and I hope that he can stay up at the top of that. Up at that list, and that means that we're staying at the top of the standings because it's one of those. It's a hard thing to get people to understand. You know, if we win the conference, we'll have multiple people on all conference. But if you're only geared to be on all conference, who knows if you're going to win the conference?
Sure.
And so it's hard to get guys to understand that philosophy and that mindset, and especially for a guy like Phil that works so hard in the way that he does and the way that he competes. Again, like I said, when he makes plays and he makes the right plays and misses, it's kind of like, what happened? Why did he must have got fouled or something must have happened because he is that caliber of a player.
Did he want to talk about his block shot at practice? He blocked Chong Kui down on the post.
He'll talk about anything you want to talk about.
Swatted the shot. I thought for sure he'd be talking about that block shot.
All you got to do is bring it up. He'll be able to tell you exactly what happened, and he'd probably tell you blocked it twice.
All right, Arkansas State, Wednesday night, 7 o'clock. Coach, we'll see you in Jonesboro. Thanks so much for your time. Hope you feel better.
Yeah, thank you, Eric.
All right, that's Coach Brad Korn. Stay tuned. We've got regular programming coming up here on ESPN Radio. Hope you enjoy the rest of your Monday, everybody. Thanks for joining us from Wings at Center, the Red Hawks Coaches Show on SEMO ESPN. So long.